All right, today we're jumping into 6 really powerful chapters from the book of Isaiah. It's a journey, really. We're going to follow this dramatic arc that starts with a nation deep in crisis, looking for hope in all the wrong places, and it all leads to this incredible vision of divine hope and deliverance. So, here's our roadmap. We're going to walk through this story one chapter at a time. We'll start with a serious warning about where we put our trust, then move through these amazing promises of a righteous king, divine judgment, and it all comes together in this vision of glorious restoration that gets put to the ultimate test. So our story kicks off with a pretty sharp rebuke from the prophet Isaiah. He's posing this critical question that honestly still echoes today. When disaster is literally at your doorstep, where do you turn for help? Isaiah 31 just lays out this incredibly stark choice. On one hand, you've got the visible, tangible power of Egypt's military, what Isaiah calls mere flesh. Or you can trust in the unseen but all-powerful Spirit of God, who promises to personally defend, deliver, and preserve his people. It's an age-old question, isn't it? Do we trust what we can see and measure, our technology, our economy, our own strength? Or do we trust in something greater? And just look at the imagery here. God's protection isn't some passive thing. It's fierce, like a lion that absolutely cannot be scared away from its prey. And at the same time, it's so tender, like a mother bird hovering over her nest. This is the divine power that's going to defeat Assyria, the military superpower of the day, not human armies. So for Isaiah, the only logical response is to repent, turn back to God, and get rid of all the false idols they've been leaning on. So it makes perfect sense that this warning then builds directly into a powerful promise. After telling the people what not to trust, Isaiah gives them a vision of a leader who is actually worthy of their trust. This verse right here, this is the heart of the whole chapter. It lays out this profound principle. True, lasting peace isn't just about the absence of conflict. No, it's the direct result of a society built on righteousness and justice. It's a kind of peace that brings a deep quietness and an unshakable assurance. This king that's promised is going to completely transform society. He'll be a refuge, a hiding place for his people. Under his leadership, all that spiritual confusion and blindness gives way to clarity. Corrupt and deceitful people lose your power, and true character is what gets honored. It's this vision of a total societal reset, but it only comes after a period of judgment. And then, in chapter 33, the tone shifts again. It opens with this prayer from a people in real distress. They're crying out for salvation, and God responds with one of the most powerful declarations of his sovereignty in the entire book. This threefold declaration, this is the bedrock of their hope. See, God isn't just one of these things, he's all of them. He's the lawgiver who sets the standard, he's the judge who upholds that standard, and he's the king who rules by it. Their ultimate salvation, their real safety, is found in his complete and total authority. And this is where that security is found. When the prophet talks about Zion, he's talking about Jerusalem, the symbolic city where God lives with his people. And its safety doesn't come from bigger walls or stronger armies. It comes from the very presence of the Lord as its ultimate judge, lawgiver, and king. Okay, so from the security of Zion, the camera lens, you could say, pulls way back to reveal a global perspective. This chapter unleashes a pretty terrifying prophecy of cosmic judgment on all the nations that stand against God. Isaiah 34 describes what's called the day of the Lord's vengeance. The language here is, it's intense and apocalyptic. It uses the nation of Edom, a long-standing bitter rival of Israel, as a case study for what happens when rebellion against God finally reaches its end. The imagery here is one of absolute desolation. It's a picture of creation itself being unmade because of divine justice. But the most chilling part might be that final instruction. Check the book. The prophet is so sure that this will come to pass that he challenges future readers to hold it up against history and see that not a single detail has failed. So after all that apocalyptic darkness of divine judgment, chapter 35 just bursts forth like the sun after a storm. It is a breathtaking pivot to a prophecy of almost unimaginable hope, healing, and restoration. And let's be clear, this is about so much more than just planting flowers in the desert. This is a total reversal of the curse. The physically broken are made whole, the fearful are made strong, and creation itself starts to sing again. And running right through this renewed world is a highway of holiness, a special road just for God's redeemed people to finally travel home. This beautiful verse, it just perfectly sums up the final destination. The journey on that highway of holiness doesn't just end in a city, it ends in a state of being, a place of everlasting joy where sorrow and sighing are just gone forever. It's the ultimate picture of redemption. All right, so after all these warnings and these incredible promises, the story pivots hard into a real-life historical crisis. The mighty Assyrian army is parked right outside the gates of Jerusalem, and everything Isaiah has prophesied is about to be put to the ultimate test. And things escalate fast. What starts as a military campaign quickly becomes a psychological war. The Assyrian commander, a man named Rabshakeh, stands before the walls of Jerusalem and, speaking in the local language so every single person can understand, he launches a direct assault on their morale and on their faith. The Assyrians' very first taunt is surgically precise. He mocks their reliance on Egypt, calling it a broken reed, a stick that will splinter and pierce the hand of anyone foolish enough to lean on it. He has no idea, but he's unknowingly echoing the exact warning Isaiah gave them back in chapter 31. And right here, the attack shifts from politics directly to theology. Rabshakeh's final argument is basically a list of all the nations they've defeated and all their useless gods. His question is blunt. Why on earth should your God be any different? He's trying to shrink the God of Israel down to just another local, powerless idol. And that's where the chapter ends. Just silence. The threats are hanging in the air, and the people of Jerusalem are standing there in terrified silence. It forces them, and it forces us, to answer the central question of these 6 chapters. When an unstoppable force is at your door, when human power seems totally absolute, where is your confidence really placed? In the flesh or in the spirit?